Praise God. Good evening, everyone. And I'd just like to welcome everybody back from a short vacation. I hope everyone enjoyed themselves. I see our media friends back with us and all other guests. Welcome back to Lynchburg City Hall work session, August 26, 2025. I will now turn you over to City Manager Wendell Bender.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of City Council. Truly, welcome back. Many of us with children, what have you, are back to school, and Labor Day is upon us, so it's really the end of summer. Before us, work session agenda, we have a briefing from Donna and Greg about the adopted fiscal year 2026 budget, followed by 2 business item briefings. And to remind, those are usually topics that have an eventual vote. It's our opportunity during work session to brief and engage City Council about that topic so that if there are questions, we can flesh those out. So when we get to that opportunity to vote, we're all prepared to do so. Followed by your roll call, and we have a couple closed session items. And Mr. Mayor, if I may, there's a couple housekeeping items that I'd like to walk through really quickly, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Well, I have an introduction. We have a new member of our team. Her name is Stacy Garrett. Stacy Garrett is our new Downtown Lynchburg Association Executive Director. Stacy, for the past 20 years, Stacy has served as the Executive Director of the Miller Home for Girls in Lynchburg, where she built a reputation for strong leadership, community collaboration, and organizational growth. She holds a BS in elementary education and an MS in administration and supervision from Longwood University. Stacy and her husband, David, live in downtown Lynchburg as well. Please join me in congratulating Stacy on her new position. She actually starts tomorrow. So. I'll also acknowledge the board chairs here with us as well, Mr. Boswell. I'm glad you're with us. Thank you for being here. All right. Oh, okay. All right. Call and response. Moving forward, we have a pop-up, and the pop-up, you remind, is a briefing from city staff about an impending topic that will be brief, and hence the name a pop-up. So Ms. Mercedes Braun will engage you about our legislative package.
It's time, everybody. Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of City Council. Thanks for having me, and I hope everybody had a good summer. Yes, our 2026 General Assembly session is underway. In the past, our approach has been incredibly broad. We've submitted general requests that most of which are championed by other organizations, oftentimes neighboring cities, but not really necessarily Lynchburg specific. Some are, but not all of them. So this year, I really want to tighten that focus. Let's get something that our state representatives can really sink their teeth into and drag, which most of you guys know, all the way through those grueling subcommittees, their chamber votes, crossover, and all the way to the governor's desk, where hopefully we can repeat something we had in May of 2023, where the governor sat in our very own EC Glass Gymnasium and signed swatting into law. So that's to you guys. Hats off to you guys. What's that? Inventing swatting? Preventing swatting. What did I just say? Oh, never mind. I don't even want to know. Okay. So as your legislative resource, I really do want to fight for what Lynchburg truly needs. This means building a lean, intentional agenda based on your specific priorities. Please understand, I in no way am suggesting that we take your general principles off the table. I know your conservative governance. I understand that you guys want things like infrastructure and lifelong learning support, that you want the best training and equipment for our first responders, our state-supported local employees being paid competitive wages, mental health being at the forefront of policy planning. I know you'd rather eat dirt than pass another unfunded mandate onto your taxpayers. These will be reflective in your package. As a matter of fact, they're going to be your strong guidelines set forth for any decision-making based on, from the state on behalf of Lynchburg. To make this meaningful, I am asking that by September 5th, which incidentally is my birthday, and as a quick aside, my Amazon wish list is all covered, so you don't need to do anything about that. I'd love to see any ideas that you have reflected, that you like reflected in the package, or meaning these Lynchburg-specific ideas. This will give me ample time to solicit experts within our departments, any partnerships, and outside agents. Here's one example. Mr. Mischins has brought this up to me a couple of times. You will see this in your work session. This is one that has been officially submitted. So this is the kind of route we're going down. Human services funding, we want to try to take a look at that formula to reflect caseload and not population. This is a very crude piece here. And I say crude, meaning short and to the point, but not exactly reflective truly of everything that's going on. Virginia is funded by way of population, not workload. So despite the fact that Lynchburg is this big and Virginia Beach is this big, we have the same workload. But meanwhile, they're doing backstrokes and $100 bills, and we are counting our pennies to our next payday. So thank you, Mr. Missions. This is going to be in front of you September 23rd is your business item briefings. Like I said, I need that time to do that research. So I'm going to have each of these up as a slide, and hopefully with the consensus from council, we can have it in front of you October 14th for your general business vote. I'm happy to work with you, call you, talk through each individual item, or just email me if you want me to get the ball rolling. And the last thing is kindly pencil in your legislative dinner on the 18th of November at the University of Lynchburg. I'm happy to answer any questions or just wait to get going. You do not have to resubmit it to me. I got it. But feel free. I'm all set. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Ms. Davis.
Okay, last little piece, Mayor, working together, I know, with particularly with you and also with City Council, and it's that time of year, right? I talked about going back to school. We've worked with our new superintendent, fantastic, and Dr. Gupta and yourself, and so part of our scheduling has that September 9th is one of our normal work session, regular session. Obviously, this is our first day back and our first opportunity to work with and have a joint meeting with Lynchburg City Schools, and it works for their calendars, and it's already on your calendars. So positioning for you, Mr. Mayor, and your peers, we'd have a joint work session at 4 o'clock at the IT, what's it called? The training center like we've had in the past. But that would be September 9th, at 4 o'clock at the IT training center. So, and with that, I think what we need, or I'm asking the clerk, is if everyone's in on that, I know that the mayor's helped with that, talk through it, we're good. Then we have to cancel the regular meeting and then propose the new meeting. Do I have that right, Alicia?
That's correct.
Okay.
We'll work with the mayor to get the special call joint meeting on your books and
Okay.
to the public.
Yes, sir? We all
By consensus?
good to go? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. And with that, Mayor, pass it back to you.
Ms. Donna Whitt.
Thank you. Mechie's a really hard act to follow. I'm kind of dry compared to Mechie, okay? So just let's put that out there. So when we left our meeting June 30th, there were some questions about how the budget was really balanced. So at that special called meeting on June 30th, City Council restored some services and programs. Anna, if you can flip the next slide, please. There we go. So these services were restored in the budget by vote of council. And so this reflects the reductions, the additions. There was some revenue associated with these services that were restored. So this is kind of what happened there on that last meeting. So, but the budget was adopted with a reduction in planned budget savings across the general fund to offset the services and programs that were restored. So in your final ordinance that came to you, there was a line item for that $538,118 reduction in non-departmental, meaning that you can go ahead and flip it. That by the end of the fiscal year 2026, we will see those savings in departments. Historically, every year we have savings in our departments because our department heads are very fiscally responsible in spending their budget. We count on those savings to be there for our one-time, generally capital maintenance projects. We use that money for. That will just be part of that. And then I think it would be helpful if at the end of fiscal 26 that we came back to you and just kind of said, here's where we found those savings. We did get our June revenues. So I feel a little confident that we could bump our sales tax some. But I feel like it's more responsible to say that we're going to have these savings across our departments that would make up this $500,000. It's going to work similar to the way we do our managed vacancy program. We count on those savings to help balance the budget each year. So it's going to work similar to that. So they will be across all departments where there will be savings, and I can come back at the end of fiscal year 26 and show you exactly where those savings are. If there's any questions, happy to answer. Yes.
On my first slide, some of the organizations I understood actually had pretty significant revenue, but they were listed as zero revenue. Is there a reason why? Because I know Templeton Center, they rent out, they do some things. Jackson Heights has revenue from the classes they offer. I don't know about the burial program, but why are those listed as zero revenue? And I know there is revenue there.
Well, there is some revenue, but it's not accounted for in the general fund. Parks and Rec has a fees budget where they recognize some of their revenue that is different than what is shown in the general fund. So it's just another accounting piece, really. It's kind of like, almost like a grant, the way that works, that we show their revenues that offset by their fees. A lot of times for like the art studio, the fees are directly related to the supplies that they buy for those classes, and they put those together differently than in the general fund. So it's just a little bit different in how it's reported. So that's why they're not shown on this general fund reflection.
Sure.
Sure.
It's just piggybacking Kurt's question then. So with this accounting then, the 68,000, that's not offset in any way by the revenue. The revenue stream goes to a completely different pot. It's not impacting the
Correct.
$68,000 number. Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Anyone
And then
else?
the general relief burial program, there is no offsetting revenue for that.
Marty?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Witt. Is there any reason we wouldn't amend the revenue streams for, because I just pulled it up from our finance committee meeting we had, we went about 600,000 over budget on sales and use, and then looks like we did 118 on consumer utility. Would it be cleaner to bump those up a little bit to cover that? What was that difference? Was it
It's
538?
538,000. It's just a different way of looking at it. I didn't have those numbers when I put all this
Sure.
together.
Yeah.
So I didn't get the June numbers until about 2 weeks ago. So I didn't feel confident in bumping sales tax
Sure.
before then. Now I feel like we could bump sales tax up this $500,000. And I feel pretty confident that we'll get it. I'm kind of anticipating my July and August numbers, but that's one way to do it. And we could do that. We could amend the budget and increase those revenues. It's just a different way of looking at it.
Keep in mind also on that, to that point, for meals tax and for hotel tax, we were under budget in revenue
Correct.
by more than we were over budget in sales and consumer utility tax. So generally speaking, until we get some clarity overall in revenue, I think we know for a fact we're going to generate budget savings, and budgeting for those budget savings in the way that we are, very similar to how we budget for vacancy savings, is probably a little bit more prudent at this point.
But if I remember correctly, did we not account for that? Didn't we?
We have accounted for managed vacancy savings.
But we also, didn't we reduce the projection from last year
And actually, we
for
increased
meals?
it by,
for meals?
for meals. We have meals pretty flat.
So somewhere I feel like I
A little
saw,
bit less for,
I think
I
there
don't
was,
have that number in front of me. It's,
Yeah.
yeah, I believe we reduced it for 26.
so I think if I remember correctly, that we already accounted for meals and
Lodging to be less.
to be less in the budget. So, and I appreciate you bringing that up, to just kind of remind us of that. So that part should be covered hopefully by the reduction from last year's projection. So that's why I ask if I'm just wondering if is it cleaner to actually say, here's the revenues that are going to pay for their expenditures, and to actually just, amend the budget and do something like, 500,000 on sales and use and the 38,000 on the consumer utility tax electric. I mean, that's
It's
my
really
question.
at the will of council.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's what,
Now, I'm fine. I can do either. If there's a majority vote that you want to amend the budget, we can bring that back
We
as a
can't vote in
vote,
a work session.
or,
Yeah,
yeah.
we can't do that.
I know you can't vote
I think
now,
our
but
recommendation would be the latter, which is to use the surplus and you're not off, I mean, you heard it, yeah, we can work that way. It's just, one way, one way or the other. I think
Exactly.
our recommendation would be just to work with the surplus.
Isn't that a one-time revenue paying for a ongoing expenditure that way though, where if we increase the ongoing revenues, we would have an ongoing revenue paying for an
It's the
well,
same
it's the
way
same
that-
as managed
It's the same as
vacancy
managed
work.
vacancy.
So it's really not one time in that. Once it falls to fund balance, it would be. But in the budget, it's basically helping pay for ongoing expenses.
ongoing, yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Ferrari?
Thank you. So the budget is balanced.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Wilder?
Again, just thank you for your efforts in the budget process, and it's been a long process. We thank you for that. Just remind citizens, several things were cut, like the nature zone. I believe we never did find any funds for that. I know a lot of kids, they really go to that, rely on those services. So hopefully at some point we can bring some of these services back at some point. But it does have an effect on, people with kids and some other things, resources. So just remember, several things were still cut. Okay, thank you.
That's our briefing, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Okay. National Opioid Litigation Settlement, Mr. City Attorney.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, City Council members, as all of you will recall, in 2021, the city with the Commonwealth of Virginia and all other localities in the state joined in a memorandum of understanding to create the Virginia Opioid Abatement Authority Fund and to agree to the sharing of settlements as it relates to various opioid settlements that were in effect at that time and for future settlements that came down the road. So as you'll see from your agenda summary, 100% participation in the previous multi-state opioid settlements with the previous entities we had agreed to join was achieved. I'm happy to announce that as of August 14th, 2025, the city's finance department indicated the city has received $752,640.78 from the National Opioid Litigation Settlements. And as of that same date, we also have 2 grants that we're involved with that total over $2 million. So what is in front of you today that will come up for a vote on the first meeting of September, I think that's September 9th, is the participation in 2 additional settlements, one of which is with the Sackler family, who were the owners of Purdue Pharma, which is now, I believe, in a bankruptcy process, and 8 manufacturers of opioids, namely Alvogen, Amneal, Apotex, Hikma, Indivior, Milan, Sun, and Zydus. So those resolutions are in there. I know the state is hoping also to get 100% participation from all the Virginia localities, because the more participation there is, the more opioid settlement funds flow to the state and to the localities and the opioid abatement fund. So that's what I have, and that will be coming up on September 9th.
September 9th. Mr. Ferrari?
Don't want to take too much time on this. It's more my own curiosity. So the manufacturers are the ones cited here because they improperly marketed their product. Is that why?
So yes, there's various reasons. There's all kinds of different individuals that have been involved in these settlements. So there's distributors, there's pharmacies, there's the owners of the companies and manufacturers. But yes, it all goes back to various reasons that could have been fraud, misrepresentation, gross negligence in the marketing, sale, et cetera, of opioids.
They knew this product was addictive, right?
Well, yes, that is what it basically comes down to,
Yes.
is resolving those issues without litigation.
Mhm.
And, you know, it's likely that as part of these settlement agreements, they don't agree to fault, but that is the premise, that the argument was, yes, they did. They knew these were a problem.
Anyone else? Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
And next one is Lynchburg City Council Rules and Procedure Discussion. Mr. City Attorney.
Actually, Mr. Mayor, I think we have queued up Councilmember Timmer's presentation first, if you are ready.
Ms. Timmer?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not going to use the slides a whole lot, except in the context of questions when we go into discussion regarding my comments today. And I appreciate the time to present this to council. As you all know, this has been a long time coming for me, and I've been wanting to present on rules for a while. Mr. Mayor, we've had some of these discussions personally, and I'm going to use a little bit of a personal story to give the context of my passion for rules, and then go into my prepared comments. I grew up in the political, but I ran from it, and it wasn't until the George Floyd riots that I got back into it. And the reason was because my husband, a mixed race man, was called up to the riots as a member of the California National Guard. And I felt that we had lost our ability for dialogue in society around the issues that are important and significant to us. That if you came out on one side of the debate or the other, you were immediately pigeonholed into an entire framework, rather than being able to discuss and have dialogue about the things that are meaningful to us as a society. That we are losing our ability to engage with individuals, and instead we're being put into groups and categories where then straw man arguments were brought forward, and our dialogue and ability to discuss as people was being undermined as a whole. And I see this happening nationally, and I unfortunately see this happening consistently on our council. We have inverted the truth that all people are created equal, and the value of that, with the idea that all ideas are created equal, which is untrue. And when we move to the place where we think that all ideas are created equal, we undercut the value of the people around us and engage in those behaviors that are often uncivil. Rather, fairness is the cornerstone of civility. And we've moved to a place of unfairness in order to create convenience. And so with that, I'm going to read these comments and speak to why I am requesting that this council remove ambiguous language in our rules that allows for arbitrary enforcement, where a majority voice and a majority opinion can suppress that of a minority voice and minority opinion because of how those rules are being applied differently in different circumstances. And it undercuts our value as a governing body, and it goes contrary to the very role that we are supposed to operate in as this council. Fairness is the cornerstone of civility, and fair and robust debate is the basis for an informed citizenry, which is essential to a healthy democracy. For generations, we have worked to build a culture of accountability through transparency and fairness, which prevents a rush to judgment that allows passions to override reason. Such a culture recognizes the intrinsic value of every person by recognizing all voices deserve to be heard and considered. It also recognizes that we should learn from mistakes and that reconciliation, not cancellation, should be our goal. Recognizing the importance of free speech and free debate requires that each of us be willing to hear things about which we may take offense. Often we will vehemently disagree with one speaking, and the temptation to silence that person can overwhelm our willingness to protect free speech rights of the person with whom we differ. We should resist this temptation, particularly when it is a government body acting to restrict free speech. This nation chartered a new course in recognizing free speech rights with the adoption of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights in 1789 and its First Amendment protections of speech. The temptation to limit speech about sensitive items of public debate, however, was still present after the adoption of the Constitution. In 1835, congressional allies of the South sought to prohibit the reading of anti-slavery petitions in the United States Congress by passing a gag rule, which automatically tabled all petitions seeking to end slavery. Representative James Henry Hammond of South Carolina rose to the House floor of the United States Congress in December of 1835 and justified silencing the voice of the abolitionists, stating, "I cannot sit there and see the rights of the Southern people assaulted day after day by ignorant fanatics who file these petitions." Imagine a representative of the United States Congress claiming the right to silence the speech of any person whom he deems to be an ignorant fanatic. This is not the role of government, Mr. Mayor. The role of government is to create an equal playing field where voices and opinions and debate can come to the table, but we're honoring each person involved. Currently, our rules do not do that. And herein lies the problem when we seek to limit speech as a government body. We assume the justification to determine the type of speech to be allowed, and government often abuses that broad power. Certainly, part of fairness in speech is to provide fair, reasonable, and as much as possible, clear and concise rules for discussion. Reasonable time limits are allowed to ensure that all can speak. But when a governmental body treads too far out on the argument that a council member should be silenced because their comments are not an opinion germane to the topic, or should be silenced because of the manner or tone in which their comments are made, we can often use the majority of council to silence the minority of council. And this we should avoid. Certainly, courtesy should require proper decorum, and the chair of the proceeding, generally the mayor, has a role in keeping decorum. If one member keeps speaking over another or constantly interrupts, the mayor can require that person to refrain from speaking while another has the floor. But when a council member criticizes another council member, we should not use our offense at the criticism as a tool to silence the offender. Rather, our rules should provide an opportunity for the person against whom the claim was made the opportunity to respond before we end discussion of the topic. In other words, when one council member makes an allegation of impropriety against another, which unfortunately happens a lot on this council, the one against whom the allegation was made should have the last word on that allegation, with the ability to ask questions of the accuser. This provides accountability, transparency, and fairness in discussion while not abiding in the temptation to silence speech. Otherwise, we are involved in cancel culture, silencing our opponents in an attempt to cancel them with their role on council. The balance of ensuring decorum while respecting free speech requires balancing these important concerns while generally erring on the right of speech. And this means that all of us must thicken our skin. I have already, in my 6 months in this body, often heard comments and inferences about me that are false and honestly offended me. But I should not use this offense as a justification to silence those who make them. Rather, I should have the right to respond if the comments deem a response. I could go into multiple Supreme Court cases, which I'll do in written comments that I'll likely post online later if I ever get around to social media. But I do want to say that additionally, these proposed rule changes recognize that fair and robust discussion should be protected by not encouraging the restriction of speech by claiming speech should be stopped through points of order due to it offending a member of council or questioning their motivation. These vague terms allow suppression of speech and arbitrary enforcement. And we have witnessed this occur. We have seen comments that clearly questioned motivation allowed and comments that did not question motivation directly silenced. Rather than seeking to silence, let's make sure our rules allow the offended party the opportunity to respond. Ultimately, all of us are answerable to the electorate in our discussions. And if we are unprofessional, false in our statements, or make baseless accusations, we reveal our lack of leadership to the electorate. So while I strongly believe we should not make accusations about another's motive, for such accusations in substantive discussion invite personality conflict and do not speak to the concerns of the citizens, I recognize that writing such things into our rules again invites a majority to silence the minority and runs contrary to the wise articulations of our Supreme Court that I skipped. So a basic summary of our rules changes that I am proposing. 3 key areas: the opportunity to respond, notice of resignation, and due process. So the opportunity to respond. If a member of council lodges an allegation of impropriety against another member of council or the public during a public meeting, the person against whom the complaint was lodged shall have an opportunity to respond before the end of the meeting. Rationale: all persons have the right to be heard, and this prevents ad hominem attacks without an opportunity to be heard. This is basic fairness. And also a large reason why I have been opposed to closed session, because in personality conflicts on council, because it allows for a public accusation without a public response, because of the nature of how closed session prevents the opportunity to address those issues in a public format. So public accusations are made, but there's not a dialogue of response, and I believe that that has been inappropriately used. Notice of resignation. All resignations of persons whose resignations require the council's attention should be provided in writing to council members. The rationale being this procedure prevents confusion by ensuring communication is consistent in expression to all council members. And due process. All motions to censure will be in writing with supportive documents and statements, allowing the person subject to the censure motion the opportunity to prepare a response. The censure process shall afford sufficient time for full notice and full opportunity to respond, and will allow the target of the censure timely access to relevant documents and information. A quick note on that. A couple things. One, I stated this in our last meeting, and it's true. It is procedurally easier to censure a fellow member of council than it is to get an item on the general business agenda. I think that's inappropriate. Water goes through the path. It's procedurally simpler. Water follows the path of least resistance. And in addition to that, I did skip the Supreme Court rulings, but the Supreme Court is very clear in components of censure and defines what is constitutionally appropriate and what is not. And when it's used to prevent a council member or official member of a body from acting in their particular role and their designated function, it's deemed unconstitutional. But as an expression of speech, it is protected, because free speech absolutely should be protected. We need to heed that advice as council and be mindful of what that means for us as a governing body. I'm going to provide the rationale, and then I'm going to have 2 requests of council, and I'll conclude my remarks. So again, the rationale regarding due process. History teaches us it is easy to light the torches and start the condemnation parade, and that this rush to judgment often overlooks critical facts and rarely addresses the underlying problem. Due process provides fairness and facilitates a full understanding of the facts before acting. These basic rules of fairness have not been followed by many of those involved in national political discussions over the past several years, and we have all witnessed the growing lack of civility, personal attacks, and failure to address critical issues where personality politics is now dominating modern political discussion. Such failure undermines public trust in core democratic institutions, and I believe that these proposals will help bring the necessary changes to model proper dialogue. As we discuss these changes, I have 2 requests, technically 3. As we discuss these changes, please do not interpret the proposal as a criticism of any member of council, nor an endorsement of the conduct of any member of council. The tendency to view proposals in that light prevents substantive debate and often results in the vote on a proposal being based on irrelevant considerations. I'm hopeful we can consider these matters, recognizing that all of us have the motive of seeking and adopting the best rules that ensure transparency, accountability, and free and robust debate. So accordingly, here are the 2 requests that I have. That we suspend, in considering this, that we suspend our rules in order to allow us to divide the question. so that each of these proposals can be considered individually. And that in addition to that, rather than putting forward a substitute motion over my proposal, that members of council would first put forward a friendly amendment rather than trying to scrap it all together. So those would be the requests that I would have as we discuss these considerations. I believe that if we are able to discuss the proposals one section at a time, and prior to substitute motions, a request of a friendly amendment is made, we can be more efficient in our discussion and also find more common ground than expected. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
There are slides that they summarize each of the changes put forward. A lot of it has to do with removing arbitrary language that is around particular, they can be arbitrary in its enforcement. And then also shifting from prioritizing efficiency to prioritizing free speech. Obviously, we want to be efficient in our deliberations, but it is not the primary goal. Efficiency without efficacy is the fastest way to nowhere.
Mr. Faradi.
Thank you for your presentation, Ms. Timmer. Mayor, I would suggest that the item that is not listed in the presentation is the one of most concern to me. I don't think this council needs a filibuster because that's what's in this document. Though some might say, well, it's not a filibuster. Well, the Senate in Washington essentially says a senator can speak on any topic as long as they want, unless around 2/3 of the senators say you're done on a topic. They block your ability to do that. We have that here. I don't think we need a filibuster and listen to all of us pontificate for hours on end as long as we want on any item. Personally, I think the travesty of our rules thus far is that they're not efficient enough. There are some holes, and I think all of us have offered some ideas of how to fix them. But to present this document absent this key piece, unless it was just happenstance and forgetfulness, completely misses, I think, the largest change out of this entire document. We don't need a filibuster. Far from it. In large part, there are some, not in large part, in some respects, there are things in here that should be included in my mind.
Mr. Farley,
when contemplating the center stuff, it doesn't need to be in there. I wholeheartedly disagree with the idea that it's easier to censure someone than to get something on the agenda. Maybe it's because whatever topic or item someone might be trying to get on the agenda, Mr. Mayor, doesn't have 4 votes. I mean, it's just that simple. Maybe the censures that that a council has passed in recent memory is because there were 4 members of council willing to do so. That's just how I interpret that. If a presiding officer refuses to acknowledge a council member seeking an appeal of the presiding officer's ruling under these items, the appealing member may directly appeal to the parliamentarian. We have elected a mayor, whether you voted for him or not. He's the mayor. And this is slowly but surely taking away more and more and more and more and more of the few items of authority and power that the people of Lynchburg have bestowed on him. It's to run this body how he sees fit. And I don't think we need to be taking more and more and more away from him. This isn't in the presentation, but one of the things I submitted is like, well, one thing I hate, I loathe on parliamentary stuff is that throughout my almost 6 years on council, we have this practice where you can talk for however long you want and then submit a motion. In all my training, that's backwards. There should be no discussion permitted on anything outside of a work session. I think a work session is more dialogue and us going back and forth. And at the 7 o'clock meeting, why are we talking for 10 minutes and then I submit a motion, and because I motion for it, I can then go on talking for another 10 minutes. That's highly inefficient. One of the changes I've proposed is, or asked us to at least consider, is you can talk before a motion on an item, but if you want to make a motion, someone else has to do it, or you have to reobtain the floor. And then I move that we do X, Y, and Z. Someone seconds it. Then you enter debate. It's highly inefficient, I've found, and I've done it myself too, where I've talked about something and then I motion for it. But it should be flipped. The other thing is, and I was thinking about this as I'm cutting on my tie at home. I'm like, they're going to rail on me, man. Like, it's going to take me longer than 3 minutes to explain this. We shouldn't have the ability to talk longer than the public. The public can only speak for 3 minutes. If we can't describe whether we support or oppose something in a 3-minute time period, which is around 500 words, I mean, there's a lot of education on this dais.
Yes.
That's another thing I submitted. But prior to a vote, going back to Ms. Timmer's proposal, Mr. Mayor, prior to a vote on adjournment or recess of a special meeting, the members who originally sought the special meeting shall be afforded the opportunity to address the reasons for the meeting being called. No. Only if you're recognized by the mayor can you speak or make a motion. That's it. When 4 of us choose a mayor, there's ramifications about how that goes for the next 2 years. We shouldn't strip the mayor the ability to recognize people and then say, no, you're done talking. And Mayor, I wish, I know I've gone on for a minute, I wish you would do that more. Chris, we've heard enough from you. We're going to go to somebody else. I'm cutting you off. I wish we would do that more. Sorry, I'm scrolling through some of these proposals. Here's one I genuinely believe in. You know, in cases where the application of these rules is ambiguous, the presiding officer and the council, I might strike "and the council," but the presiding officer shall interpret the rules in manner that favors free expression of ideas and full participation of council members in debate. Thumbs up. Thumbs up. Adding in a line under rules of procedure and the purpose by section 1.1.c, I guess is how you'd say it. To preserve the spirit of cooperation among council members, insert by respecting the free and transparent public discussion on issues before the council. Sure, I don't. So there are things in here that I support, but the large changes I do have take issue with. And I would humbly respect that there are things we need to do to make us more efficient. I was also thinking when I worked briefly in the Senate, there are rules about what you can and can't say. You're not allowed, I forget the term, and Kurt, the vice mayor, might be able to remind me of the term, but you're not allowed to make blank about the president. Characteristic, you can't, you can only, characterizations about the president. Well, that's a rule they have in Washington. I think it's a rule they have in Richmond. So there's precedence about how we're supposed to comport ourselves while at the dais. Removing that, I think, only further inflames some of the problems we've had. Generally, that's where I'm coming from. I violated my own concept of it should take 3 minutes and you're done. But the changes I've recommended are in the following document. So, thank you.
Yes, sir. Ms. Timmer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are a couple different documents that are all being brought to the table in the nature of the discussion. So one is our current rules of procedure. One is a proposal that I am putting forward. The other is a conglomeration of both staff recommendations and other council member recommendations, some of which Mr. Feraldi provided yesterday. And so the discussion of those components and how they interplay with each other is getting a little bit conflated in the nature of this current discussion. So especially for the media, those documents are the comparison points for some of these talking points. I believe, Mr. Feraldi, the place that you're bringing up in your initial concern is section 6-3 point C, if you will, however we want to read that, regarding how a council member is able to hold the floor. But it does defer to a time limit. You mentioned the supermajority component, but it also says or articulated in these rules. So I'm happy to discuss the nature of a time limit. I think that 3 is inordinately short for a number of the items that we discuss and would actually be a disservice to our constituents to not be able to bring the full discussion before them as they are also interacting with us from the public. But there's no issue with the possibility of time constraints on council. It's just the question of how do we want to decide that as a body rather than it being arbitrarily enforced because of the nature of the meeting or the particular moment. So I don't agree with Mr. Feraldi's concerns, and I see them as a slight mischaracterization or misunderstanding of the nature of what's being proposed. That was the primary point. In addition to that, I'd also say that I think that these rules that I am proposing actually further clarify and support your role, contrary to how Mr. Feraldi represented them, and does so in accordance more so with the Robert's Rules of Order and creates a greater clarity around that and how your position is exercised. So I do not see, and nor has it been my intent in any way to undermine or diminish that authority, but actually to clarify and support it. So I also disagree with that interpretation that has been put forward as it's been conflated with his own proposals that came in yesterday. So I don't see that as a concern. If those are the primary 2 concerns, then I disagree with them. But again, I'm hopeful that we can consider each of these points individually. So if there are concerns that come up, then we can discuss them, separate the motion so that we can vote on each of the points individually. Thank you.
Mr. Reed?
Thank you. So I'll go through Ms. Timmer's proposed changes first. And I don't think we need to vote on anything during the work session, but I think we have a lot to go through and think about before we vote on anything. So I'll say that first. I do think that there's a lot of subjective language in Ms. Timmer's proposal that makes it challenging to decide how the presiding officer would decide, what is, how it would be applied. Anybody could interpret it the way that they want to, and then allowing the council to interpret, again, to Mr. Feraldi's point, there's one presiding officer. So then in the new section 1.3, the presiding officer and the council shall interpret the rules in a manner. Well, the presiding officer is the final say unless he or she goes to the parliamentarian and ask for some clarification. I feel like even if we go back to section 1.1, to preserve a spirit of cooperation amongst council members by respecting the free and transparent public discussion on issues before council. That's fair. Going down to section 1.2a, the business of council should proceed in the most transparent and accountable manner reasonably possible. Well, reasonably possible, that can be subjective depending on who's interpreting it. I've already said 1.3. There's quite a few things in here that people could interpret differently. I think, we go back to what were the purpose of these rules of procedure in general? And I would like to have Mr. Friedman just clarify for the history of the council in general, what were the rules of procedure created to do?
These rules were created originally to have a simplified way of running meetings. So city council didn't have to draw from really a very complicated source that's Robert's Rules of Order. So they were designed in a way to basically draw from Robert's Rules of Order, but also be able to adapt to city council's needs and be a simplified source to draw from, to have efficient, timely and fair meetings.
Okay. So they are just a simple kind of tool that we use to just get through a meeting, not to make things overcomplicated. I mean, Robert's Rules of Order is a ginormous book used for many clubs, committees, boards, organizations to navigate through, but this is a very simplified way to get through our meetings, not making it super complicated, but gives us a basic foundation for
Yes.
running our meetings. Great. So, obviously we're looking at protecting free speech. That's fair. And trying to imply that people are being silenced just by how maybe a point of order has been used. Well, we just need to clarify what a point of order actually is. I think we've tried to do that several times about how you really use a point of order. Maybe we just educate. We take a moment and have our parliamentarian educate us on how to properly use certain terms. And then we could clear that one right up.
Yes.
I think that'd be great. Maybe we could have a little lesson. Maybe you could come in and go over how to properly use our rules of procedure, and we would save tons of time. I would love that. And then we could just efficiently use the ones we have rather than changing them and making them more subjective, because that will make things more complicated in a lot of ways, I think. So just like when we were talking about some previous rules we were trying to change, if it's not broke, don't fix it, just to make it more convenient in some cases. So I think as we comb through, we have to really look at what really is needed to change and the motivation behind it. I think I agree with obviously wanting to and needing to be respectful to everyone. That should always be the case. I just think we have to be very careful on adding things that are unnecessary. I think streamlining things are always good, and making additions that are truly necessary. I've made notes. Every formal body has procedures to hold its members accountable. Committees, boards, churches, every level of government has a way to hold its members accountable for their behaviors. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with expecting each other to behave in a courteous fashion. I don't think that there's anything wrong with us doing that. I think doing it in a respectful way is fine. And looking at our procedures to do that is fine. But just calling it free speech is not fine. You don't use free speech to say it's okay to mistreat staff. You don't say free speech is then justifiable ways to treat each other and say we're just going to let each other go on and on and on to mistreat each other or community members. So there is an accountability factor of saying we're not going to use that as an excuse. So there is a requirement of decorum that should be expected amongst all of us in these seats. So I think we can say free speech, but we also need to be respectful. And I apply that to everyone up here, including myself. So I appreciate the time and efforts that Ms. Simmer put into her proposal, but I don't agree with every change here that was made. I would like to also at some point get on to see and talk about what Mr. Friedman has proposed and Mr. Frawley. Thank you. And others, yes.
What's the mission?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Friedman, could you tell me, do we actually have a purpose in our rules of procedure?
We do.
Because I don't think that's what you just stated when you were asked what the purpose of the rules of procedure were. If you could you read the purpose of the rules of procedure into the record, please?
Sure. Section 1.1, purpose of the rules of procedure. A, to enable the council to transact business fully, expeditiously, and efficiently while affording every opportunity to citizens to witness the operations of government, to protect the rights of each individual council member, to preserve a spirit of cooperation among council members
Mhm.
and to determine the will of the council on any matter. And that's D. Just for clarification, Councilman Mischins, I understood the question to be not the purpose, but the history,
Okay.
the reason they were adopted.
So just to be clear, that we have adopted a purpose for the rules of procedure, and some of those things, just to highlight them, transact business fully. That means we got to have a robust debate about whatever that business is. To protect the rights of each individual council member, majority or minority. Everybody's rights here as a representative duly elected by the citizens of Lynchburg should be protected. To preserve a spirit of cooperation among council members. You know, I would welcome a procedure to hold each other accountable, because currently there is none and there hasn't been one. So I would welcome that procedure. Right now, I would agree that it is easier procedurally to get a censure on general business than it is to get a business item on general business. And my colleague, Mr. Feraldi, mentioned earlier that, perhaps it's because you didn't have 4 votes. Well, we can't vote to put things on the agenda. We're not voting on agenda items. And that was very clear that we can't be doing that when we had our FOIA training last time we met. We can't do the voting on the agenda. And in addition to that, when something goes from, I think right now it's set up where it's supposed to go to a work session for discussion first and then to general business, we can't vote in a work session unless we have a supermajority say we can vote or we suspend the rules. So I've had agenda items that I've requested. I've had agenda items that I've put in and discussed in roll call. I've had some items that I've actually met with the city attorney on that have never seen the light of day in 2.5 years. And they were never voted on. I can guarantee you, if you go back into the minutes, you will not find a vote of this body say that's not coming forward. And what that does is that denies the rights of each individual council member. Because we were elected by the citizens, we represent them. And if there are issues or items or policies that we want to bring forward, we should be able to on behalf of the citizens. And I believe that they should be entitled to a free, full, and fair debate. And we should vote on it, up or down. We're going to do this, we're not going to do that. I think that's fair. But again, it procedurally is not easy to get items on the agenda at all. I appreciate the work that you did putting this stuff together. There are some couple things that I have maybe some slight concerns about, but nothing that
And I
we
do
couldn't
want to say I
just,
presented this to all of council at
Sure.
the same time.
nothing that we couldn't, work through and tweak. But I do think that the spirit of this is kind of right on target of where we need to go. Because if we level the playing field, it's going to create a situation where we have, I think, a much more civil discourse here in the council. Thank you.
Mr. Bob?
I didn't have my hand up. Thank you for the information. To our city attorney, what are your thoughts? I know you reviewed all of this. I've tried, but anyway, you reviewed all this. What are your thoughts, and is it necessary to make any changes at this time? Or what changes would you recommend?
As far as necessary, there are a few things I'd propose changing just for cleanup and for clarification. As far as what I would recommend, I think it comes down to where city council wants to go with its rules of procedure. So right now they're designed around efficiency. and timeliness. It does address the component of being fair, allowing the majority to rule and the minority to be heard. But what Councilmember Timmer has proposed, I think, is worthy of discussion, of course. But it takes the rules of procedure in a different path. It goes more about the idea of free speech, robust council debate, whereas currently it's about efficiency and accomplishing things and getting them done.
I mean,
Hold on.
do you, have you, I'm trying to think that I'm running the approach to see is if you could give us some of your recommendations as a legal counsel. What are some of the things we can do to be more efficient? What are some of the recommendations you have? Because it's versus so much. I'm just trying to think, what are some highlights you think we should address at some point?
Mine, I'm happy to do that. It might be better if I do that as part of, we go through each of the items one by one. That's kind of what I anticipated as part of this discussion, is to be able to address Councilmember Timmer's items as well as all the other items brought forward by council members. If council members want a recommendation from me as to how it would affect the body or not affect the body, I'm happy to do that. It would be much easier for me to do that because there is so much of a proposal to be able to go through it.
Well, thank you.
Ms. Timmer?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you for this discussion, everyone. I really appreciate it. There are a couple points that I wanted to follow up on because I really appreciated Councilwoman Reed's concerns about ambiguous language. And that's actually the thrust of a huge aspect of this proposal, because if you look at pages 10, 11, and 12, really, a lot of it is striking language that can be applied arbitrarily and really has been applied arbitrarily in our history if you go back through the minutes or watch. And so it's removing some of that language that, again, can be applied in various ways. The points that Councilwoman Reed brought up, I'm happy to debate and discuss what may be clearer language for those, but those are in the purpose and principles, not so much in the component of our rules that have to deal with application. And so there's going to be more abstract there just by the nature of that section of the document. In addition to that, the accountability component, accountability is huge, but we have to remember where our power is from and then where it's going. If we make it our focus to police each other, we are cutting off aspects that need to be involved in the debate. And we're focusing on each other's personalities and getting into those squabbles that really divide our time. This proposal actually puts forth a process of accountability and clarifies that. I don't know if you all have ever been in an arbitrary relationship where somebody's one person one day and another person the other day and is just constantly shifting. But that doesn't function in a personal relationship, and it certainly doesn't function well for a governing body. And so creating clarity around the process of accountability actually, I think, eases some of the tensions because there's a clear path for it, and everybody knows what it is, and it's not going to change every day. And so the rules that I propose actually have a process for censure, but there's just a clear process for it, and there's a clear standard for it. And so there's accountability that's available, but it's not going to be by the response of offense. And Mr. Mayor, offense is a very real thing, but operating out of offense is going to prevent us from getting things done. As our city attorney has eloquently put, is really our goal in a lot of ways. And if we remove debate, I would submit that we will not be able to actually effectively get things done. So we need to protect debate. We need to get things done, but those have to go hand in hand, or else it's a dog and pony show. We've got to be able to bring things out into the open and have those discussions with each other. It is so important. That is our job as this body.
Mr. Ferrari.
We have limited time, so I'm going to have an idea here to try to bring all three to a converging point, and I'll share it with this because this is the biggest heart I have for this discussion is to see us be more efficient. That's my objective. I don't want another 3 o'clock in the morning meeting. It's not fair to staff, public, us, our families, anyone's families. It's just a budget amendment in Richmond sees 2.5 minutes for those in favor and those opposed. And those could be like billions of dollars in budget amendments. 2.5 minutes. That's it. If you can't say what you believe. So with that in mind, Mr. Mayor, I would submit, if we could have the city attorney work through line by line, and then Ms. Timmer be afforded the opportunity to speak in, hey, this is one of mine that speaks to this point, where she's coming from. That way we can at least start moving through this, say, hey, this is where we have consensus, this is where we don't. Otherwise, we're going to keep spinning, and I'm tired of spinning and not doing anything. At least let's work through both and afford Ms. Timmer the opportunity to speak first, and that this is what I was trying to accomplish. That's what I would suggest.
Thank you. Ms. Timmer?
Can you shift to the staff presentation, then go through?
That's similar to what I was saying.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I think what we're going to try to do is put it up on the screen there so we can go through each one. So what I'm going to do and I don't know where we are on time, but
5:05.
okay. So maybe 20 minutes.
20
and if,
minutes.
And if we don't get through it, we come back at another work session and continue and keep going through it because I know we have a fairly busy closed session.
I'm putting my money on not 20 minutes, but that's just me.
Okay.
Yes.
If I may offer a suggestion, I'm counting, it looks like 16 additions by Mr. Feraldi that we just got this morning. I have the original one that you sent us before the one you sent us this morning, and I'd be happy to share it with you. But, I would say that section 4.1C of our rules of procedure are pretty clear on when council members request things beyond the 7-day period. All items which are requested to be placed on the agenda which have not been submitted within the prescribed deadline should be placed on the agenda for consideration at the following regular meeting. So I haven't really had a time to fully vet and review what Councilmember Feraldi proposed to you yesterday. I think the email you said was 1:27 in the afternoon. And I would say in the spirit of what our rules of procedures are, if we're going to try to limit this to 20 minutes, that we start first with the original proposals,
Mr. Mayor.
which I have here in the first email you sent us, instead of diving right into, it's pretty substantial. I printed them both out. There's so this is what you sent us back in June. I think everybody contributed in time properly for the agenda. And then this is what we received today. And there's 5 additional pages of rules added to this from Mr. Feraldi's request. It's 5 more pages here than it is here. So I just think that we should focus first on the stuff that was timely, and then move the stuff that was just requested to be added yesterday to the next work session. That's where I'm at with it.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Mr. Attorney, did I ask for anything to be added to the agenda?
No, Mr. Feraldi, you
Mr.
didn't.
Mayor, I'm only going to say this once. I sent it as an email. Okay. I didn't ask for an agenda item, and everyone has a copy of this. I shared with staff the ideas I had and wrote down so that they, quote, might want to share them with Civic Clerk so that the public can have an idea of where I'm coming from. This was done so that no one is surprised. The public had a record of reference, and we could all work through everyone's concepts together on camera. As everyone knows, I didn't have to share them with anyone ahead of time, and still would have been able to say, hey, on that item, what do you think about? So if the spirit of the rules really is to protect everyone's ideas and the theory of cooperation, let's just work through the ideas we all have. If you have an idea, the vice mayor has an idea, hey, I don't like how that's worded. What would it be if we did that? Let them reference it. That's where I'm coming from.
Mr. Deemer.
So
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I haven't forgotten how upset some members of this council got for supposedly last minute things that were brought forward during the budget process and how awful that was. Honestly, I could look at this, but I haven't had a chance to because it just came in this morning. What I do know, Mr. Faraldi, is that Ms. Timmer has been incredibly patient trying to get this agenda item moved forward. And she's been not allowed to, for whatever reasons, good reasons, maybe sometimes, multiple times. And I would really like to finally give her the opportunity to get a vote on this tonight. So yeah, I would like to focus and I'd like to be efficient, which I've heard multiple times from multiple people. Adding at the last minute is never efficient. The other thing that I have struggled with is I believe these are city council rules. And as such, I think city council needs to be the people proposing the changes. And some of the changes that are on the agenda today and to be discussed are not from city council. They don't have a city council sponsor. Yes, we've seen them. But if we're going to change our rules, I think at a minimum, a council person should put their name on it and say, I'm in favor of this. And I want to make this substantive change to how we do business. And I want it to come from our body. It's city council rules. It's not staff rules. It's not administration rules. It's not city attorney rules. It's city council rules. So if we're going to hold ourselves accountable, I want to make sure it comes from us. And if other people want to propose rules, then they ought to find one of us to sponsor their rule and say, I think this is a good rule. Will you sponsor this? Because you're on council and it's a council rule. If rules can be proposed for city council outside of city council, I think that opens up a door that I don't necessarily think is a good door. I want us to make our rules. I want us to propose our rules. I want us to sponsor our rules. If somebody has a really good idea, I'm sure they can find one of us to say, yeah, put my name on that. Let's do it. But in the interest of efficiency, like you said, I would really love to show some courtesy to Councilwoman Timmer right now and to focus in on her rules that have been before us for quite some time. Vote them up, vote them down, but let's just focus on those. Let's get to yours eventually. I'd love some more time. I haven't even had a chance to read them. Can I properly evaluate them at this point? Probably not. I'm glad you have confidence in me, but that's not the way government should work. We should have some time to look over some things, especially a rule that becomes a permanent one going forward. It affects all of us. So I would ask out of deference that you give us the ability to focus on the rules that Ms. Timmer has had forward before this, tried to get before this body for months now. And let's do that. And let's not worry about anything else. Let's get that done today. And I'll call that a really great day, Mr. Mayor, if we can give Ms. Timmer some respect.
Hold on for a second.
Just to clarify, you know, my request is simple. It's that there were those of us that put the work and the time and the effort in advance to put these rules before council. Councilmember Timmer's putting an extraordinary amount of work into this, and then the original list. So my request is, with the limited time that we have, that we focus first on Councilmember Timmer's suggestions, which I haven't seen her rules amendments put up on the screen, and then the original revisions that were sent to us over a month ago that we've all had ample opportunity to prepare for and address before we go into the 5 additional pages of rules that we were given this morning. So my request is simply that we move in that manner.
Understood. Ms. Reed?
Just because it's been 7 weeks of glory. Well, how many times has Ms. Timmer's proposal been on an agenda? Was it just once?
I think 2.
I believe it's June.
I think there were two different
And then two
times.
previous.
It's been on two, okay, so this is the third time. Well, Mayor, I'd like to request, because, you know, if we're gonna have multiple things we have to review and consider, and again, I don't want to vote on anything tonight, because I think we need to look at everything in conjunction and then go down and kind of itemize things, that we table this and come back to our next work session and have all the stuff together, because if I'm not allowed to make suggestions tonight per this new rule, because I might want to alter some things and I'm not allowed to do it because I didn't submit it before today, and I might want to redo things and I didn't do that, then can we just come back and be able to look at everything together? Because if with what Mr. Feraldi is saying is now being, even though it wasn't an agenda request, and these are just his ideas that he was going to throw out there today or tonight, and that's not allowed now, which means now I'm not sure if Dr. Wilder and I can make some suggestions off the cuff because it wasn't pre-planned. Then I think we just come back so we can go through everything together one time. Because this is, if we just vote on Ms. Timmer's stuff tonight, and then now we can't vote on the staff thing without now assigning ourselves to it because staff ideas don't matter. I just think we need to come back. That's my suggestion.
So,
Mr.
Councilman
Friedman.
Reed, I want to make sure I understand. So is the proposal that we put it all in one resolution, Councilmember Timmers and everybody else's into one document, and then be able to go through all at once on the 27th?
Right. And just be able to, like, you know, pick and choose and kind of, or collaborate in some type of, because otherwise it's going to be weird to me. Like, we're going to go, okay, so we're going to go dissect Ms. Timmers, and then we're going to go through the one that has everybody else's on there. Is there a way just to have it consolidated?
I absolutely can consolidate it. And if you all are looking for a recommendation, I would recommend doing that, because that way it ensures that all of Councilmember Timmer's items are considered, and it gives council members time to review Councilman Feraldi's proposals, and all of it are in one simple document. to
And now
review.
if staff's voices don't matter, then some of us can assign our names to their suggestions if we agree with those proposals between now and the next meeting, and then just knock it out once.
And I'm happy to do that to see if they're sponsors, but I can tell you most of the staff changes are administrative or technical in nature.
Yeah.
There was some that were in there on July 8th, you know, that would probably be more procedural, but I decided to remove those after the July 8th meeting.
Sure, I mean, I agree with quite a few of them, so I don't mind putting my name on them, but it doesn't sound like I can do that today, so.
Okay, Ms. Timmer?
Mr. Mischins had his hand up first, but I do have some
Mark?
comments.
I would be, I think that would be probably one direction that I could support. I just do want to point out that on May 17th, good morning, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, and council members. Shown below are topics I've addressed so far as our future rules of procedure amendment. The subject is call for rules of procedure amendment. So there was many of us that when the city attorney called for rules of procedure amendments, provided him with rules of procedure amendments. And I'm just going to be kind of blunt with this because I don't really know any other way to say it. But when we've been working since May to try to adjust rules of procedure, which and the two times that I've done this previously, they're never anything major. They're just adjustments. And then we get hit today with 5 new pages. It might be less when you don't print it out with the comments on the side. It certainly feels to me like it's almost like an attempt to kind of jam up the work that's been done from this point forward. And I just think that we should honor the folks that put their suggestions in timely. and proceed with those and then move on. Because I've had an opportunity to flip through some of this stuff, and it's pretty substantially changes the way that we do business. You know, I understand and appreciate the concern about not having meetings after midnight, but if we're having public hearings and we have citizens that come to speak for hours, and that causes us to be in chambers doing their business past midnight, it's our job to do that. It's our job to listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and maybe a suggestion would be that we don't do the 3 public hearings in a row anymore when it comes to the budget. Maybe we do a tax rate public hearing. Maybe we do a water, sewer, stormwater public hearing. Maybe we do a budget public hearing, and we do them on separate nights. And we act on those things the nights that they come before us, because that's what we do with every other public hearing, because the matter closes, the public hearing closes, and the matter rests with council, and then we vote. But, you know, if we're in there past midnight because the citizens are speaking to us, so be it. We shouldn't have an arbitrary 11:59 p.m. cutoff. What if there's still people in line that want to speak? You know, there's a lot of people that show up and speak at these meetings, and it's hard for them to get here. You know, there's accessibility issues, parking issues downtown. Find me a level street in Lynchburg, right? I'm sure Public Works would love it if they were all flat, level, right? But that's not the way downtown Lynchburg is. And, you know, I think that when people put the work in to come down here and speak to us, we shouldn't have an arbitrary time cutoff and say, oh, we're done. It's not fair to the citizens. Same thing with people that I think it's eliminating voicemails. And
because this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
and Mr. Mayor, I have the floor. So just to hit some highlights on some of the things that I saw in there, I think that what we need to do is focus on the rules first that were submitted timely to the city attorney, and then we can move on to the 5 additional pages after that, because I can assure you it's probably going to take more than 2 meetings.
Yeah. I have to agree with Ms. Reed that we table this. It's a lot to absorb. And we come back, Mr. City Attorney, get everything lined up.
Yes, sir. I'll put in
and
one
we'll address
document.
it then.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Parati.
Thank you. I'll be brief. First off, I think it's a load of crap that I didn't submit this timely. I didn't have to submit it at all. That's just the truth. As we know, Mr. Mayor, on many occasions has submitted things without anyone's review, including staff. I was trying to be fair. Okay.
And
So,
Mayor, if I can add that.
no, if I can get this all out, thank you. By the time we've taken to say why we shouldn't review just Chris's, we could have gone through all of this and been having the discussion anyway. So, Mr. Mayor, I proposed a couple of ideas. One, it was, yes, to be done at 11:59. We don't have to adopt it. If you read a couple pages later, it says we'd resume Thursday, 7 o'clock, same time. Everyone would know, hey, this meeting might be long. You're going to go to that time. Another idea was, once a special meeting is called that particular day, you can't call for one before it, because that's been a tactic that we've already seen. Another one is council members can't interrupt each other. It's a simple addition. I added emphasis on the deadline to add for request agenda items. I said 8 days, just to make it clear, on a Monday at 5 o'clock for the next meeting. So it's 8 days at 5 o'clock the next meeting. I also added in clarity about how you can add something to the agenda, specificity on it.
Mhm.
And that it could be something we reviewed 6 months prior, 6 months ago, and you can add to the agenda that night. That's a hole that Mr. Missons has identified that we needed to add clarity to. I actually proposed moving roll call to be the first item after consent agenda, because I think our meetings at 7 o'clock oftentimes start off too hot. I think putting roll call start at the start of the 7 o'clock, you have the public there, hey, EC Glass, LCA, Liberty did, Centra did, go team. I just figured that was a good idea. I did incorporate a 3-minute time limit. When there's a motion at hand, each individual council member has 3 minutes on a motion. It doesn't have to be adopted, but that keeps us moving forward. I did say 30 minutes, which we already do, but we don't really follow it. It says a strict, once 30 minutes is up and every member of council has an opportunity to talk, boom, we're voting. It's over. We're moving on. Let's see. I proposed pulling the voicemails away, and I know that's going to turn some heads. But then I also turned around and said, but you can submit into the written record up to, I think it was 3,000 characters. Again, I want every opportunity for folks to be able to share their ideas and where they stand on matters. I also want us to be able to be as efficient as possible. So if we can get your commentary into the record that is available publicly and incorporate in a more efficient process, I think that's a good compromise. On motions, I put clarity on, like I said, you can't be talking and then make a motion. But you can have informal discussion, but then someone else has to make the motion for you. It's in here. It makes sense. Again, clarity on substitute motions and amended motions, like how there can only be one substitute or 2 amendments and how that all works together. There's the 30 minutes. Clarity on points of order. It says what a point of order is and how you make it. Instead of saying point of order, I don't think this is making any sense, it's not connected, I would say point of order, germaneness. That's it. That's the end of the point of order. That's what the clarity is. It adds the lifelong learning committee to the committees, which we don't have to adopt. That's it. I mean, like, so if y'all want to just table this, that's fine. But I won't have my integrity questioned or what I've done or make it seem like I'm the problem when I was planning on bringing this up anyway. And I didn't have to do this at all. So.
Thank you, Chris.
Mayor, I just wanted to follow up on that. So I added Chris's proposed changes. I guess it's no good deed goes unpunished for doing it. I did it so all of council would be able to see it as part of this discussion. But it was really just an email to staff and I think you, Mayor, with the ideas he presented. So I ran it by Councilman Feraldi to be able to confirm it before it was sent out. But that was the reason. It's part of the resolution itself was for the convenience of council if they wanted to take it up.
Okay. So do we have consensus to table this until our next meeting?
Mayor, I do not offer consensus now.
So, Mr. Mayor, just to be clear, it would be to move this to the next work session.
Yes.
Have everything combined.
Yes.
Where we go down one by one.
Yes.
Right. From all the proposals, and then not that night, but the next meeting, just like our procedures follow. So 2 weeks from the work session is then when it would come before us for general business.
Come before general business for a vote.
Were you? So, Mr. Mayor, what I would offer then, and it sounds like we have the 5, is we're required to have a supermajority to break the rules, to vote in a work session. And with that being the case, I'll make a motion, or excuse me, suspend, sorry. I guess I like breaking rules. Yeah. So I'll make that as a motion that we suspend the rules just to vote to table this until it's all consolidated in the next work session, then 2 weeks, and then the next meeting to have it for general business. I'll make that as a motion to suspend the rules to do that.
Do I have a second?
I'll second, but it was Ms. Reed's idea, so I'll defer if you want to second.
Okay, I'll second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Rules suspended.
And as far as the comments to the motion, it's not, we didn't vote yet, so it's not suspended.
Let's
I'm
vote.
just speaking to the first.
Yes.
And I'm just saying that I think that it does make sense to put all this on one document where we can see it all together and then just go one by one.
Mr. Faradi.
We're supposed to meet with the school board at our next meeting at the 4 o'clock work session.
Goes to the next one.
And in fairness to Ms. Timmer, I suggested that we work through each individual one and Ms. Timmer have first opportunity to be recognized by yourself and say, hey, this is where I had something. Otherwise, in fairness to her, it'll be another month before we get to this. So that's why I didn't offer my consensus.
And you're correct. We do have a school board meeting with the next,
On the 9th.
on the 9th.
So the next work session after that will be the 23rd. of
We'll do the
September.
23rd. Is that good with you?
That works.
Let's do school. We got to take care of schools.
That's great. And I'll speak to my second briefly. Thank you, Mr. Feraldi. I appreciate that deference. And I'm grateful to council for the opportunity to have presented separately because the thrust and the nature of my rule changes are different than some of the technicalities that are presented in the other document. And some of the ideas that Mr. Feraldi proposed, I definitely agree with. So I look forward to the full discussion. I think Ms. Reed's idea of consolidating at this point and then going item by item is great. And then I hope we can separate that out and just go individually. So I'm amenable to that.
Yes, yes.
So we got to vote to suspend the rules. And then we can vote on the table.
I have a vote to suspend the rules.
I don't think so. Do we have
I
to
think-
suspend the rules
I
or is it a motion to do something just needs 2/3?
I think it's just 2/3 vote
2/3 vote.
Just
In
to
a
do
work
something.
So
to do something in a work session.
Yeah,
So
so you
I'll
don't
make a-
need to suspend.
So I'll make I will, if you'll accept
Yeah, I'll
it as
accept the
friendly.
amendment.
If my motion then is to table, just as we discussed, I think it's the 23rd, September
Yes,
23rd,
yes,
and
yes.
then the October meeting for the
Yes.
It's great.
general business.
Okay, let's have a vote on tabling this issue until the 23rd and consolidate it on the 23rd.
I have one request, if I may, before we vote, of Mr. City.
No,
Attorney.
we're gonna
If you
vote.
can- If you can just get this to us 2 weeks before the work session.
I'll
Yeah,
try to
that
have
would
it to
be
you before.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll do my
Yeah,
best.
Thank you.
Let's vote.
Councilmember Feraldi,
No.
Councilmember Mischins,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Timmer,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Deemer,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
The motion passes 6-1.
Okay, roll call. Anyone have anything for roll call?
We go in order.
Yes, Mr. Faradi, roll call. Ms. Reed?
Yes, several things. One, back to school. Love all the kiddos. It's been great seeing them, and thank you for all of our teachers and instructional assistants and cafeteria workers and administrators and everybody that makes everything happen at the schools and taking care of our children. And we thank you and appreciate you, and our janitors and nurses and everybody, all the everybody's, and the kiddos. And we hope it's a wonderful school year. And our school board, thank you. Chief Zudema, I have not made a statement yet about him because I wanted to wait till today. We thank you for your 29 years. We thank you for taking care of our citizens, for protecting our citizens and our families. We thank you for just representing our city so well. We wish you the best. We're sad to lose you. We totally understand you going to Wilmington, and I would go down towards the beach as well if I were you, but we will be very sad to lose you. But we know that you're going to do a great job. So we just appreciate all that you've done, and you've done it well. So we'll probably come down and visit you. You might have a lot of visitors. And then also congratulations to our clerk of council for her recent engagement. Very happy for you, and you deserve the best. You know that we love you very much. So that's what I have.
Thank you. Mr. Wilder?
Yes, just real quickly, I want to thank all the men that came up to Mendon School. We were excited about to welcome our kids back to school. We appreciate that, showing our kids some love and encouragement. Also, we did lose one of our civil rights leaders, Miss Betty Payne. Her funeral was about a month ago. We've been out for a while. But Miss Betty Payne, the civil rights leader, the mayor sent a letter, so thank you for that, for honoring her. I mean, she was definitely a trooper. She gave me a list of about a year or two ago of all the black businesses that were on Fifth Street back in the day, so for history purposes. So I appreciate her giving me that document. I do have the information. And also, again, thanking the chief for his 29 years of service to our community. Really appreciate him. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Congrats to Humankind on their groundbreaking today. They're expanding their Head Start program from 42 to 90 students with affordable childcare, and they prioritize foster and homeless. And so that was just cool to be a part of, and really excited for them. And then also, this is more of a personal note, but my husband just had his second 33rd birthday. We've decided we're stopping at 33. So congrats to him, and also happy 7 years because we just turned 7. So anyway.
Praise God.
Yeah.
Yes. Mr. Mission?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple things. One, congratulations to all the swimmers in the Lynchburg Aquatic League. It was a pretty interesting summer for me because I got just dove right on in, right? Never did it before. And then I had 2 kids that wanted to swim. And it was kind of neat because there's 2 meets. There's a B meet championship and an A meet championship. And Vista Acres actually won it, the B meet championship, for the first time in, I think, over 30 years, somewhere around that. And then Peakland won the A meet championship that was out in Bedford. And I want to thank Ben Crosswhite for graciously hosting that B meet championship. There was a ton of people there over at his facility. So it's just great to have him as a community partner with that. And then want to thank also she's not here, but I was going to thank Donna for putting together some of these credit card transactions for me that I asked. It might have been a little bit of a load. I'm not sure. But Mr. City Manager, if you can maybe just take a note of this. One question that I have about this is, and you can get it back to me, I'm not asking for it tonight. There's about $110,000 worth of credit card transactions and what was given to me that have no finance description in them whatsoever as far as like what they were to. So I'm curious about what the policy is on that. And then I'm also curious what we have for travel policy with per diem and things like that, just after reviewing some of this stuff. So if, that's just questions that I have, but thank you.
Mr. Dean?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to start out by encouraging all the folks, congratulating Liberty University on their first game this coming Saturday, 4:00. I hope everybody will be out for that game. I'm excited about this season. Secondly, I'd like to thank the hospitality of the Water Resources team that hosted a tour for me and showed me the facilities across the city, including the new CSO project that's ongoing, that I've actually been working on as a legislative aide back in 1993. We were working on CSO problems in Lynchburg. So it was exciting to see that, and I'm looking forward to a more tour on that later, I think. But thank you for Tim and his team doing an excellent job in the city with providing water, because I can tell you after 3 days, you would miss them. So they're doing a great job for us, and I appreciate that. I did have a question for the city manager in regards to some of the emails that have gone back and forth this week about a resolution from March of 2024 that passed unanimously by city council regarding the flags that are allowed to be displayed. That encouraged you to establish written policies and procedures. First question, real quick, yes or no? Have you established policies, procedures? Okay. Because I understood there was a request for that information and there was no forthcoming information. So if you could provide that to all the council, what those policies are. Reason this came up is I several personal complaints from officers in Lynchburg who saw a flag, an unauthorized flag going up at the new police department. And we're surprised about that, given that it was a 7-0 vote. Now, I wasn't here for that vote. I certainly would have voted for it as well. But when the council speaks unanimously like that, I'm glad you've got some policies, and I hope that those will be duly established and encouraged. I know the school board is doing a great job of that, as a matter of fact, on their own within our city schools. And I think keeping the politics out of things in our departments is going to be more conducive for getting the job done and being professional and focusing on what their purpose is. Without delving into anything controversial politically. So if you could get us a copy of that, I would very much appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to thank city council, city staff for a balanced budget. We was able to have a balanced budget. And I'd like to say thank you to Lynchburg PD for Ryan Zuderman. We have been as close as brothers all these years. And we walked together, talked together, and even ate bread together. That's love for one another. Thank you, Ryan. And now we go into closed session.
Yes, sir. Consideration of closed meeting to dispose of city-owned real estate where competition of bargaining is involved and where discussion in open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the city pursuant to section 2.2-3711A3 of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended. The subject of the closed meeting being specific to the letting of city-owned real estate at the Lynchburg Regional Airport and the selling of city-owned real estate at 1505, 1517 Jackson Street, Lynchburg, Virginia. And consideration of a closed meeting for the purpose of discussing the performance and conduct of a specific appointee of the Lynchburg City Council and consulting with legal counsel, counsel in connection with the same pursuant to section 2.2-3711A1 and 2.2-3711A8 of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended. The subject of the closed meeting being specific to the performance and conduct of a current member of the Lynchburg School Board and consideration of a closed meeting to discuss appointments for vacancies to the Greater Lynchburg Transit Company Board of Directors pursuant to section 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended. Just looking for a motion.
Second.
What? Second. We got a second?
Second.
Okay.
Okay.
Mayor,
Ready for vote?
question.
We have a motion and a second.
Yeah. I have a question.
Point of order.
That's a second.
I'm allowed to have discussion after a motion and a second.
Point of information, maybe?
I would like to submit the question.
Okay,
Submit the question.
Who are we talking about?
that's for closed.
That's the point of the closed session.
Well, I'm not going to vote to go into closed session without knowing what we're talking about.
That's your prerogative.
So we're going to go into closed session without knowing who we're talking about.
I think if you were,
I think
Pretty
the,
standard
it's in your
practice.
emails.
Only
It's in your
one
emails.
Personnel issue.
don't insult me,
I'm
Vice
just saying,
Mayor.
I'll stand
I
with that.
read my damn emails. How about stop insulting me?
Point of order.
I want to know
The
who you guys want
language,
to talk
point of
about.
order, Mr.
Stop
Mayor.
point of ordering me.
No, I
wanna
am
know
going to
who we're
point of
talking
order.
about.
You just violated our rules of
I
procedure
don't
using
care,
profanity
Marty.
in a meeting.
You want me to
and it
go into
needs to be
closed session
addressed.
about one of our school board appointees
What-
and
what-
won't share with the public who we're talking about. They
Yes.
have a right to know.
Yes, we have people.
I don't care. That's the point.
Yeah.
They should know who we're talking about.
You close the door?
No.
We've not taken a vote.
Okay.
To go into close. So it's
Have
still
a
open.
vote for close.
Call the vote.
Wow.
May we have a vote to go into close?
If you're ready, I'll go ahead and call the vote. Councilmember Frawley?
No.
Councilmember Mischins?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Councilmember Timmer?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Deemer?
Yes.
Mayor Taylor?
Yes.
The motion passes. We are now in closed session. We need to go downstairs because there's a presentation.
Yes.